Hi, it's Martin Masry from masterquery.com. In this video, we're going to continue our talk about the query sections and query syntax, specifically the filter section. In the previous video, we discussed the display, the sort, and the rows. Alright, let's get started on the filter section. You see on the screen, we have date equal trade. Now what date equal trade, which is the default, what date equal trade means is the trade is equal to the most recent trading day, including intraday. So if the markets are open, as you can see on the screen, the date column has a timestamp on it. It has a date and a time, so the markets are open. If date is equal to trade, it will include intraday. That's the default. We also have available date equals max. Now date equal max, now the difference is, notice the date on the screen, it says the 29th. If I run this, it now shifts to the 28th because the 29th hasn't closed yet. So date equal max is only closed data. Posted data in the books is not going to change anymore. So date equal max is closed data, the most recent closed data. Okay? So another option we have for date is date equals on a particular quarter. Now it doesn't have to be a single day. It could be, we can span days. So if I wanted to put in Q for quarter, I could put in 1, 2, 3, 4. We're in the fourth quarter, so I'll just load that. And quarter 4 of 09. I'll go ahead and run that, and it'll run that query, and it'll give me all the data from the beginning, the earliest date of that quarter to the maximum date of that quarter. Okay. You can also put in an absolute value. You can put today is the 29th. So if I were to put in the 27th, I'm sorry, the 22nd, it will give me data. That is a weekday. So why don't I do that? There's absolute value. So I'm getting data from a specific date. I can change my operators. I can say greater than or equal to, or less than, or what have you. Okay. Alright. Alright, so let's start spanning dates. We do that with between. Alright, so let's say it's between, I didn't spell that right. Okay. Alright, so between, let's say max minus 7 and max. Okay. So what that's going to do is it gives me data going back a week, 7 days, 7 trading days. So it's basically a week's worth of data. Okay, so that's spanning dates. Now we can go back up to 90 days. Okay, so this is a perfectly valid query. If I were to put in more than a 90-day span or more than a 3-month span, let's say I put in 120, it's going to give me an error. You don't see it on your screen, but on my screen I have an error. System maximum date range is currently set to 3 months. Okay. Now I can't do that, but I could do this. This is valid because the range is still within a 3-month range. So it's giving me a 3-month time span going back 30 days. And that's perfectly valid. Okay? Alright, so next on the list, let's talk about the symbol syntax. Now, all this, I'm going to have to shorten up the data. Let's do max minus 7 and just max now, just so we can Google dominate the screen. Okay. Alright, so we have five days of Google here, because there is a week in here. It says max minus 7. So on symbol list, if we wanted to include or exclude a symbol, provided it's within our criteria, because we do have minimum criteria of moving average and volume here. But if we wanted to exclude or include criteria, we could build a list. Let's say we only wanted Google. Right here we have Google and Baidu. Okay. So why don't I go ahead and type in symbol equal, and then I could put Goog, and then I could put plus or a space, doesn't matter. This is probably a little easier to read. Baidu. Okay. And now it'll only give me those 2 rows. Okay. Alright. Alright, if I wanted to exclude data, I could put in a minus. So if I were to run this, this will only give me Google. But if I wanted to get the entire list but without Google, I can say minus Google, and now Google doesn't show up on the list. So I can build lists of with symbol lists with using plus and minus. As a matter of fact, I have a system query. Let me save that. Let me load a system query. DAO components, and this is a list of all the DAO components. They're all pluses here. I'm not excluding anything. So this is a list of all the DAO components. Now the first one is AA, Alcoa. So if I wanted to exclude it, so let me put a little space here so everyone can see. Okay, this is still valid. Spacing doesn't matter. This works. If I wanted to exclude it, I would just put a minus sign in front of it, and now it's going to exclude it from the list. Okay. Alright, so that's how you build symbol lists, with pluses and minuses. Alright. Go back to my queries. Alright. Okay. Alright, next on our list, why don't we talk about let's talk about show first and show last. So let's run this again. Okay. I'm spanning dates. So if I wanted to show the very first occurrence of a particular criteria, first occurrence of a particular result, I could do show first. So it's show first equal true. Okay, this will give me, in this particular case, Google, it should give me the 21st. So I'll go ahead and run that, and sure enough, they only gave me the first occurrence with this criteria. So as you build more complex queries, you may, not necessarily, sometimes you do want to see all of them so you can figure out what's going on, but if you wanted to only include the first occurrence or the last occurrence, that's how you do it. You do show first equal true or show last equal true, and it'll only give you the first or last occurrence. Okay? And there's the latest, the last occurrence within our result set. Again, the markets are open, so we didn't post the data. Okay. All right. Okay, so the next section is actually quite a lot to talk about. It's all the expressions in the calculated field. So I'm going to pause here with this video, since YouTube does limit me on time. And why don't you come back and watch the next video, and we'll finish up on the filter section. Okay. Take care.